I have, yep. I've been able to kind of hang back and knock out some projects on my own, and then help my family with some stuff. So it's been good, much needed. Put it that way.
Yeah, you guys have had a lot of races since the restart, since everything came back from the pandemic, and I don't think you guys have had an off week. So has it been good to kind of regroup and just have a week to relax?
Yeah, absolutely. And probably the cool part for me, is racing the way I did before all this. Um, I never had ran that many races in a row ever, and so it was something that I, I didn't really know I needed until until we got it. If that makes sense, I always I always loved as many times as I could race in a row, and so for me to get to the point that we did, oops, for me to get to that point in the season that once we got back from COVID, I believe we were, I want to say 10 races in a row almost, maybe even a little bit more than that. Maybe it was like 12. Um, it was nice to give that weekend, and allow the guys some rest and recuperation, and get the cars back to the level that we had all of pandemic to prepare for. So it's been exciting, and I think I could speak for everyone though. We are ready to get to Road America and go back racing.
Yeah, Road America. You guys had practice for the Indianapolis road course because it was a new track, but you're not going to have any time to get on the track before Road America. So how are you going to approach that? The first two stages.
Yeah, that's a great question. For me, I've certainly leaned heavily on iRacing and the sim as much as I can. I would say the last 10 or so days been trying to spend about at least an hour an evening on that, and just running laps, getting familiar with the track, so that when I do show up there, I'll have it memorized to as best degree as I can. Because, like you said, I've never made a lap there, and the first time I'll be seeing it is on the pace lap. So it'll be interesting, and it certainly kind of changes, I think, the level of intensity that will bring the first stage. But after three or four laps, it's like all the other races we've been doing, where you're settled in, and it's just like a regular race at that point.
Yeah, have there been guys at JD Motorsports that you've been able to ask or kind of rely on for maybe information, especially going into this week, with no practice?
Yeah, certainly. I've gotten to be pretty close buddies and good friends with a lot of the guys there, whether it's crew chiefs or the two drivers, BJ and then Jeffrey. Those two guys and myself have certainly got a got a good relationship and a good chemistry going. We mesh really well, and as much experience as they have, it's easy for me just to go to them and pick their brain and ask any question I have, no matter how silly I might think it is.
Yeah, and this is your first year in Xfinity Series. You've had a few years, in the Truck Series, done some races there. How different has it been to go from the Truck Series and now you're, full time Xfinity as a rookie?
Yeah, it's been quite a transition. I think the biggest things that I um, have noticed in my progression so far has been just the amount of information that you're taking in, on a weekly basis. When I was truck racing, it was really easy to be. Um, it was very easy for me to get caught up and overwhelmed with a lot of the behind the scenes stuff, just because we were doing it on our own. I was in charge of getting people, getting crews lined up, and logistics and hotels and travel, and there was a lot of areas there that I was also thinking about. Whereas now on the Xfinity side, and getting to drive for a great team like Johnny Davis Motorsports, I'm able to focus on solely the driving part of it. And what I mean by being able to take in a lot of information is I'm learning more about my driving style and my technique, and the last 15 races than I ever have in my whole career. And so that's been very good for me and very helpful, I think, in my progression. And not only that, but getting to learn the new dialogue with the new team, and getting to learn the dynamic driving for a different owner and someone not family related, getting to learn how to points race. I haven't gotten a points race since the K&N series in 2014. So it's been a lot of fun for me to get to this level and to honestly do it at a level like this. It's pretty special, and I got to remind myself quite a bit that I'm very lucky and blessed with the great business partners and sponsors that I've had, and the family members especially that have allowed me to get to this point and kind of have been the catalyst to hopefully a longer career.
Yeah, and taking it back to your truck series team, you had raced with them for, many years coming up to the Xfinity series. And how much do you think that team has progressed from when it started to even now in 2020?
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun to be able to see the progression that not only my involvement with the team, but also the other people that have come and gone. My crew chief in the 2018 season, and honestly, who helped us out in the very early stages of the truck team, Matt Noyce. He was able to take the information and the knowledge that we were learning together and go crew chief full time for Ben Rhodes and ThorSport. I've had mechanics that have left and gone and do full time jobs, so it's been really cool to see kind of everyone that's come through has used it as a stepping stone quite a bit and have gone on to bigger and better teams for sure, including myself. And so we definitely always hold a special place. I do for many reasons, but hold a special place in my heart for those times we had at JJL Motorsports. And I think, I think to be able to hand it over to the hands of Logan Puckett and those at Diversified Motorsports Enterprises, it's almost full circle. It's back into the infant stages that it was when I first remember getting some trucks and trying to go truck racing. And so I can only hope to be a part of its growth in the next couple years.
Yeah, now with JD Motorsports, some people call it, I guess, the big small team because, it's a smaller team, but you guys are running 4 cars out there. And how, with the COVID pandemic and everything, how was there a way that affected your team?
I've had quite a bit of time to think about this, and for a while I was on the fence on a lot of the for a while I was on the fence on a lot of things. I didn't know if not practicing was going to help us or hurt us. I didn't know if not qualifying was going to help us or hurt us. But as we've gone through these races, I've learned quite a bit that I think giving us the time it did to prepare a little bit more was absolutely crucial. It gave everyone in the shop more time to get ready rather than just playing catch up. It's hard at the beginning of the year. That schedule is pretty demanding right off the bat. And so, when we got back from Phoenix and we were getting ready for Atlanta, we were already starting in some cases to just get caught up rather than get better and work on our stuff. And the pandemic allowed a couple things to happen. I think it allowed a lot of us at JD to buckle down and figure out where we can get better in certain areas, where we had lacked prior. And the only thing we were missing was the time to get better. And so it gave us the most important asset, which is time, to work on our stuff and to get better. And then get into these races and how we're racing now, I think it certainly helps a team like us even more so, in the sense of it doesn't allow such a big gap through the weekend. I feel like before, it was fairly easy for a top team to come to the track and they would try a setup, they would try a package. And if they didn't like it, they had the personnel and they had the resources to completely swap it, completely 180 it, and just make huge changes very, very quickly. Whereas for us, it took us a lot of time. We didn't have as many people. We didn't have resources to be able to experiment as much. And so if you gave the top team and us 2 hours of practice like we were having before, they could get pretty far ahead in those 2 hours, just with their resources. Whereas now we show up, we unload and we race, and we're all forced to just to almost start on the same spot, start at the same starting line. And I think that helps a team like us out quite a bit. I think it kind of brings them back closer to us as far as not being able to make huge adjustments during practice. And I, for one, am excited for it. And I think it's showed in our results, in the first couple races of the year. Now, granted, I was a rookie and just starting out, but we had to really drive and run our tails off to knock out a top 15. Whereas now it's almost expected for the Ford team and myself to run up there the whole day. And maybe even, our goal now is to knock out a stage point or two. So that's really exciting. And I think we've been able to learn the pandemic well.
Yeah, me personally, that four car, I feel like it has a lot different meaning because, in the past, I feel like guys like Ross Chastain, Landon Castle, those were guys that have always been known to, I guess, get the most out of their equipment, and they kind of put that car in the map, I felt like, to a lot of NASCAR fans.
Yep.
And I was really glad to see that, they put you in the car because you've done so well in the truck series. And, how much do you believe that you're able to get the most out of kind of what you have at JD?
Yeah, 100%, man. I think that's a great question. For me, racing the way I did in the truck, it provided me a lot of intangible skills that I would have not thought of until being in an opportunity like this. And like you said, get the most out of it. That means a lot of things. And what I've learned is, truck racing the way I did, it taught me that, the first important thing is to finish these races. And if you finish, you're gonna have an okay day. And then if you can get the handle on the car and you get it driving good and you finish, you're probably gonna have a decent day. And then if you can get the handle on the car and finish and avoid some wrecks, you're gonna have a really good day. And so, being able to run these races from start to finish and always be aware of the situation and aware of the bigger picture. That's what truck racing forced me to do. And so now I've been able to come to the Xfinity series and get in the four car, and been very fortunate to have that mindset. And it's only helped us, I think, from the beginning now, with our consistency and our ability to run where we have and to start. If we start a little bit off, we don't get discouraged. We understand the long race and the big picture, like I said, and our goals can always be ever changing. And if we're off a lot one day, hey, let's just take a top 20 and not put a scratch on the car. And that has been our goal in some cases. And next thing you know, it's 20 to go and we're running 16. So it's been awesome. I think wanted to be looked at like a Ross or looked at like a Ryan Preece or a Landon, where they got to Johnny's and they certainly made a name for themselves and got the most out of the equipment and didn't wreck the cars and performed well on and off the track. And that's what I wanted to do. And I think we're doing a good job of approaching that discussion.
Yeah, you're sitting 16th in points right now, I believe, 17th, but Hemrick isn't eligible. So basically, you'd be 16th. You're, I think, 73 points back from the cut. You're kind of in that area. I think Jeremy Clemens is around there. Is the goal from here on out just to, continue to gradually get better, consistent finishes, keep the car clean?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I know I sound like a broken record a lot of times, but that's all I want to do. I just want to keep knocking out top 15s and keep the car clean. And doing this as long as I have, I've learned that if you make that your goal and you can do that enough, there's going to be days that it just falls in your lap and you can miss some wrecks and you hit the setup perfect. And next thing you know, you could be running 8th or 9th at the end of the race. And so for me, for our budget and understanding how our team runs, I like to use an analogy of the movie Moneyball a lot. That's definitely what the four guys and Johnny Davis Motorsports and I look at it. And that's how we approach a race weekend. And so depending on if we have all the tires, depending on if we have scuffs or or depending on how nice a car we brought to the track, or how how aero effective it is. Our goal is ever changing, but I think we're to the point now where we're confident in ourselves and in the equipment that top 15 is our goal each weekend, and we'll take whatever we can around there. But certainly to finish the year out strong, and continue where we've gotten to, I think it's not out of the question at all. And heck, we're just going to keep doing our job and run our race. But if we're able to get close to that playoff discussion, that would just be the icing on the cake.
Yeah, there's a few races. I don't really know exactly how it's going to work, but you guys, the Xfinity Series has about 2 races to make up. And from what I've heard, it could be another Richmond race, and it could be then another Talladega race added as well. So I can't remember exactly how many races you have until the playoffs. Do you know?
I believe, if you go off of just the math, as far as, our playoffs is 8 races, and I think we only have 12 races left, or 13 races left. So essentially we got 4 or 5 races until the playoffs.
Yeah, I think it just depends where they add them in.
And so at that fifth, with 5 races left, we know we're going to go to Road America. We know we're going to go to Daytona. The Dover races will be a doubleheader, and then I believe it's going to be Daytona Super Speedway. So those are our next 5, and of those next 5, 3 of them are pretty big question marks with 2 road courses and then this Daytona Super Speedway. And so no one knows what can happen there, and those are races that will for sure run our own race and keep our nose clean. And I think by doing so, hopefully we'll be happy with the results at the end.
Yeah, no practice, for the Daytona road course. And they are adding that turn 4 chicane in iRacing. So how much do you think, are you going to be a guy that's going to be right on the sim and making sure you get as many laps as you can?
Yeah, I'll be, and what's probably been cool too for me is I've never had iRacing before this year. I never did it really growing up. I don't know why. I was never into video games a lot growing up either, but this year when everything happened and we got one here, actually it's my roommate Cole Custers, when he got his here and I started using it, I was blown away by the honestly by how close it is and how helpful it is to the entire visualization of it. And so a year ago I would have said no, but this year I've been putting laps on that thing before every single race, no matter if I've gone to the track 100 times or not. And so for Daytona, I can assure you there'll be a lot of sleepless nights probably up on that thing, just making sure that when I do get down there, I know where to go once that green flag drops and I don't wind up going the wrong way.
So, and with the Cup Series, as for like silly season, off season, all those rides are decided, and we found out yesterday, Kozlowski Youth Extension, they're all almost decided almost the year before. But for the Xfinity Series, the slogan, names are made here. You got to prove yourself, and it's always up into the air, kind of coming to the final year. So for people who don't really know, how much does it mean for Xfinity Series drivers like you to prove, to your team, your drivers, every week when you go out on the track?
Yeah, that's a great question. To share my insight, not that it really matters or could, not that it's even worth a lot, but how I look at it and my opinion and viewpoint on it is, for me personally, with everything changing and everything going on next year with the new car and with the new car relative, and then 2022 now with everything happening and changing, the new business model that new car will bring, and then of course, like you just said, all the silly season stuff and a lot of drivers get to that age where they're going to be close to retiring. These next year, the next 18 months, 2 years are, I think, crucial for someone like me who is young and coming up, trying to break through the barrier, trying to at least get myself in the discussions and get myself in the network of, a name that could be associated with a Ross or a Priest, or Corey LaJoy or something like that. And to do whatever I can to position myself in those spots and be able to pivot any which way, I think is very important. And that's how I look at it. I want to do whatever I can to gain the experience next year. Hopefully full-time Xfinity racing again, to be able to sit in the spot at the end of 2021 and say, hopefully I've done a good job of putting myself in a position to advance my career any which way, but at least, position it so that, in my 3 to 5 year plan, I will be cup racing, hopefully.
Yeah, that's the goal. That's a great goal. And, it's not only, some people, some casuals, it's not only just driver's talent, you have to have all the sponsors, you got to have sponsor money, everything like that. So how important is that, right next to being able to drive very well, get good finishes, but also having the money to do so to get you that ride?
I think, the argument we've discussed the last handful of years, maybe the last 4 years, it's been very evident is, it's funny because performance on the track gains attention, obviously, but then money helps performance on the track. And so it's always going to be a balancing act of, if you can get more support and more resources, you're going to run better. And if you run better, you're going to continue to get more support and resources. And so that's the first and biggest hurdle. And honestly, I put a bigger percentage of importance on that than almost anything else. You got to have good partners, and you got to have strong resources. Otherwise, there's no driver in the world that can account for 30 extra horsepower. That's kind of like what I like to say. And so it's the most important thing. It's the number one name in the game. Talking about Keselowski, he made a lot of interesting remarks about how the sport's changed and the dynamic of it with drivers bringing funding now. And so I think, I've grown up in it. I've been aware of it since, K&N racing, essentially, when I first started back in 2011 and 12. And so it's always been very evident to me. And, it's a part of the sport now. And you got to figure out a way to make it work. You got to adapt and overcome.
Yeah. And so switching back to this year and going into the playoffs, like we mentioned earlier, you're only 73 points back, and that can be made up, guys in front of you have problems. It can be made up in just a few races. If you have this same gap or even closer going into the Daytona Oval, is your team and your guys go there saying the main goal is we're going to try and win this race?
That's a great question. I think, for us, it would be an awesome achievement, but we're still going to be smart about it. And what I mean by that is, we still we can't afford to go there and wreck a race car and do something that would set us behind even more so. And I don't know what the schedule looks like, but there could be a chance that we still have to. We may have to go back to Talladega. We may have to go back to Daytona. We may need to go to a super speedway again. And so, right now, I don't know if we'd be in a position to go there and be so aggressive that we say we're going to win or we're going to need to bring home the checker flag of the steering wheel. I don't know if we could do that, but I could promise you that we'd be very aggressive and calculated. The other two super speedways so far this year, I've just rode in the back the entirety of the race until 15, 20 to go. And I don't know if I would do that, but we'd still be smart and cautiously aggressive, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And you talk about taking it easy, and some teams are out there by themselves, but is it relieving knowing that you got 3 other bright red, JD Motorsports cars out there with you on the track to work with?
Absolutely. Yeah. And the nice part about that is we're all very much on the same page. We're all very understanding of the position we're in. And I think we're all aware of the mindset that, hey, if we just finish these races, we're going to have a good day. We could go up there and slice and dice and run in the top 5, but if you wreck, that doesn't, no one remembers that. But if we can run our own races and bring home, 4 JD cars in the top 15, that's a fantastic day, especially for a super speedway and the uncertainty that lies there. So it's very nice to know that there is 3 other cars for sure on the same game plan as me. I know that for a fact, and we certainly like to use that to our advantage, whether it's on restarts or lane choices and so on. But I think all of us having that same mindset, it helps to know that you can still come out of there with a good day and maybe be a little disappointed with the finish.
Yeah. So one more quick thing. I usually ask people, because the new schedule coming out next year for Cup Series and Xfinity, basically all series, there's going to be likely new tracks. Nashville is one of them. But if you had to, pick a track that wasn't on the Cup or Xfinity schedule, what would you want to see on the schedule next year?
That's a great question. I think there's a certain affinity to short tracks for me that I've always, just grown up on them and having some, and being able to run them in the touring series and having some success. I think if we could ever get back to a South Boston or a Hickory or something like that, a battle, small short track with a lot of character and a lot of history. I think that would be so cool for an Xfinity series, whether, any track in the Virginia, North Carolina, Tennessee, South Carolina area, I think would be very neat. Don't know if Cup could ever get to a Hickory or South Boston, but certainly Xfinity. And I think for the Cup cars, where I've been a huge advocate for a long time, is Iowa. And hopefully we see that soon.
Yeah, I love Iowa. I love to put the Cup cars on there. It's like a multi-groove, shorter track. I don't know what you want to call it.
It's the most fun, unique, challenging, but entertaining racetrack. I don't like calling it a short track, but I don't like calling it a mile track. So it's a good one. It's a good one. Build them all like that.
Or an advocate for it.
Say that again.
You're a fan or advocate for short track racing in NASCAR?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I think for a lot of reasons, one, it could be the entertainment factor, and 2, it could be just the sheer cost of it is going to be a lot more attractive to owners. So, if we're able to close that barrier and make that marketplace a lot bigger, then who knows how the sport could change. So I think it'd be fun on a lot of sides, but I'm glad they don't listen to me sometimes. So I'll just stick to holding the wheel.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that love short track racing. I think it'd be awesome. You mentioned somewhere like South Boston. The only place where I've seen South Boston, is on iRacing, the simulator. Seen it in person, but it looks like a really cool track. It's a very short track, but if they can get it remodeled,
I guess I think the best test that we'll all have yet to date will be the end of this year, racing Martinsville, the second to last race, and then Phoenix, the last race. I think that'll be the telltale sign of where short track should rank amongst the importance of schedule, So I'm excited for it. I can't wait. I think Martinsville being the second to last race is going to really make things interesting.
Yeah, I think they'll put you on there at night. Is it scheduled to be at night, your guys' race?
It was originally. If they haven't fully said that'll be what's going to happen with the new schedule, but if they stick to that original one, I think it will be an evening race for us. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. You guys, I don't think, the Xfinity Series hasn't been to Martinsville, or at least in a long time. So I think it was scheduled. some sort of triple header. I think trucks was that weekend too, or at least planned.
Yes. Yeah.
So that's awesome. Yeah, I love
Yeah.
short track racing. But yeah, thank you so much for coming on here. I really appreciate it. Glad to talk to you. And best of luck for the rest of the season. You guys have been doing great, and I feel like you've been getting better and better. No practice here. First year in the Xfinity Series, but you guys have been doing great. I think you'll. Hopefully, I would love to see you back in that car next year full time because you guys can do some great things.
I appreciate it, man, and it's been fun to see the support of a lot of the fans and partners. It's something that is cool for me. Honestly, not ever thinking that I could get to this point. So it's been really enjoyable to be able to talk to people like you that have take notice and paid attention, and it certainly makes it a lot more rewarding and reminds me why I want to keep doing it.
Yeah, I love the up and coming guys, the smaller teams. I feel like they give me at least it's more interesting to me. I feel like I love hearing the things, behind the scenes, and I feel like sometimes they can tell me more stuff about the bigger teams than the bigger teams could because I mean, you see it, when you're in the garage area and everything
Yeah.
you guys are doing. So I think it's really cool.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate it, man. And we'll have to do this again for sure.
Yeah, hopefully later in the season, somewhere along the way. I'm glad to. Hopefully, we can keep in touch. So, thank you, man, so much.
Absolutely. Take care, buddy.
Have a good day.
Thanks. You too.